So in the Herald the other day, it said you said about something about funding for the future rail link.
Oh yeah.
And starting that in 2016 or something.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
It may even start earlier.
Yeah.
And I'll explain why, but anyhow, you ask me your question.
Okay, the question is that like 3 or 4 years ago, I thought the 30% increase in rates was specifically to cover that.
No, it wasn't.
No. So what is that?
Well,
what is that covering?
30% increase in rates. There were three key things for this amalgamation of the Super City. Okay, first one was to get a united vision. Secondly was to stop Aucklanders arguing. Thirdly, it was to bring together a balance sheet or a budget that would once you got the vision and the plan in place, really be able to deliver out on the infrastructure needs of our city. So the biggest challenge in the first term was to amalgamate all of the rates, 7 rating systems into one. And what that meant was that what we'd do is that we'd say that a property worth 500,000 in Papatoe would pay the same rates as a property worth 500,000 in Takapuna or 500,000 in Titirangi. Okay, so it equalised all of the rates, the rating systems across the region, and that you pay the common rate, a single common rate for the same property value wherever it was in Auckland. And so, of course, in Takapuna, a 500,000 property over there, you would probably end up paying $2,500 in rates a year. A property in Manukau, you'd be paying $1,800, $1,900 a year. A property in the middle of Auckland, you'd be paying $2,100 a year. So when we squashed the whole lot of them together and amalgamated it so that they'd all pay the same rate, in some properties you had these rate increases of, yes, up to 30 to 40%. And in others, you had rate decreases about the same amount. And so we had some major shifts, but in the middle of that, you had most people had rates going up or down by about 5 to 10%. And so I said, yeah, that's right. Just to amalgamate and get a single common rate for the same property value, right? Okay. Just to amalgamate.
Because I don't know anyone whose rates have gone down. Mine have gone up about 35 or something.
Look, so
you're saying about half of them?
At least. No, not at least, but sort of 40 to 50% their rates went down, 40 to 50% their rates went up. Now, I said this during the election in 2010. I said, I'll tell you one thing. You will not hear a single thing from people whose rates are going down as a consequence of the amalgamation. And for those whose rates are going up, you're going to hear from 150 to 200,000 people, because they're saying, what the hell did we amalgamate the city when my rates are going up for? So it was purely as a consequence of that. I went to the Prime Minister and I said, John, you got sort of rating shifts totally as a consequence of the amalgamation of the rating system that are going from 10 to 13%, and we can't do that in a year.
But if you've got...
So we transitioned it over 3 years.
I mean, you have to increase the rates to cover the rail thing. If it's that,
okay, right.
If that's going to be $1 billion or something.
Yeah, now,
so is that going to be another 30%?
No. So So what we're doing is, so the rate increases for the first 3 years, the average rate increases. Okay, so the average rate increase equates to the fact that we're increasing the budget. We're asking the community for, in the first year, a 3.9% increase in our budget, which equates to 3.9% average rate increase. Now, for some people it's more, for some it's less, depending on your property value. The second year we said we want to increase our budget by by 3.6%. The third year we said by 2.9%. Average rate increase of our budget of 2.9%. Because, one, the city is growing. It grows at an average of sort of, across a 30-year period, we've been growing at something like 2% per annum. So it covers the cost of our growth. And secondly...
But I thought if you've got more growth, then more people paying rates, then it covers itself anyway.
Yeah, but mate, they're just not shifting in and sitting on top of each other. We're building communities, we're building townships, we're building parks, we're building roads, we're building public transport next, all of that stuff around them. And so, the cost of people when they shift into a city in providing for them and building an infrastructure around them is huge. And the one reason why we're talking about mass transit now is because we've got a city that's grown flat out still. And that's not a bad thing. It's a great thing if it actually works well for the economy and creates jobs for people and builds the GDP of the nation, isn't it?
No,
okay,
it's just difficult for me.
Yeah, I know, because it's a big issue. And in the end, there's an element of trust to this. Most Aucklanders know, shit, we've got a fast-growing city. Bloody hell, we've got gridlock roads. Roads just won't do it alone. We need to build a public transport system and put in place walking and cycling options. So we've got to build that stuff. And it doesn't come from money conjured off trees. It's coming from us. And it's just whether or not we're prepared to pay the cost of that and working beside the government to build that. And so things like City Rail Link, like Second Harbour Crossing, like the Waterview Tunnel, you and I are paying that through our rates and our taxes. And we can either do it slowly or not at all.
Oh, I can understand the Waterview thing, but I can't understand a small little... I mean, I was in Charlotte, North Carolina, and they have they get rail funding from the federal government, but then they have to pay for the upkeep, of course. And it goes from the middle down to the middle of the south, and that's it. And it's
I'll tell you that when we built our rail network 100 years ago now, the thing that was supposed to finish it off was an inner rail link to connect up the east, the south and the west, and due course also to go through to North Shore. And so we are talking about the fact that right in the middle of that whole network was a link that would make it much easier and simpler and open up the whole rail network if you put that centre link in, that loop in. And so what that loop does is that it will enable us to do two things. It'll enable many more trains to go through the inner rail tunnel, and it opens up the frequency on the whole of the network from 4 trains an hour to 7 trains an hour. And going faster under electric rail, we will be able to lift the present rail patronage on the rail network from present 10-11 million up to 30 million in the whole network. And so what it does is open up the capacity, opens up much faster rail network movement, and therefore people will, you know, there's no doubt they'll use it. You know, when we put Britomart in place, it went from sort of 2.5 million users a year in 2 years up to 8 million. And so every time we invest in the rail network, people go to it because they don't want to sit on gridlock roads, they don't want the hassle and the pressure of it, they love the idea of being able to utilise you know, contemporary modern public transport. So, you know, I mean, all of our evidence suggests this is the way to go, all international experience suggests this is the way to go. The private sector is now invested in it, so you say, look, you want to start 216. Well, I'll tell you what's happened.
It's just the price. It's just, here's the 30%, and we're looking at...
Yeah, no, it's nothing to do with that at all.
Another
the 30% is...
or 20%.
Yeah, I know, but every year we'll make our judgments around, as a community, not just your opinion or mine, but all of us, as to whether or not we got to do this stuff. And 60 years ago, there was a guy called Dubmeyer Robinson who was the mayor of Auckland City. And he said, we need to do this rail link because we're growing flat out and we need to get mass transit into Auckland. And Auckland said, nah, stick that. Nah, I don't have enough money. Don't agree with the logic. Don't agree with the analysis. The government said, yeah, Aucklanders are fighting with each other. We won't do it. And it never happened. And at last, we by and large agree with each other as to, one, our growth, secondly, the fixes, and thirdly, how we should go forward. And the only thing that's holding us back now is our ability to actually seriously front up to these challenges and fund them and deal with them in our generation. Because you'll be sitting on your bloody deathbed in 30 or 40 years' time, and your children, well, mate, I've been there too, and your children will be saying to you, why the bloody hell didn't you do it? Why did you keep on backing off, making a strong decision and getting on with it?
Because we're coming out of a recession and my rates have gone up.
We're always coming out of a recession or coming out of a boom. There's always a problem. There's always an excuse. There's always an excuse, mate. You know, and so we can keep on using those excuses to not do it and to try and pretend that you can run a city like ours off roads, or you can actually really seriously invest in the opportunities that are in front of us. Put your hands in your pockets and agree that this is something that this generation has to front up to, because none of the other generations did.
Yeah, but doesn't the rail thing predicate on you know, making everyone live in more condensed areas and stuff?
But that's happening anyhow. I mean, people are already making those choices. In 2005
I
and
don't
6...
want a 3-story place next to mine just to...
But you might not. I mean, I don't know where you live. What we are looking to primarily do, and these are choices for people. Hell, my dad's now in retirement village. That's 5 stories high. And all of the oldies in our communities, that's where they're going, because they provide them with the best life choices opportunities. They can't mow lawns anymore, they can't afford it, they can't look after their single standalone bloody house. They need choices around apartments. And youngsters don't want to mow lawns, they want lifestyle. So they go to the apartments too. All we're saying with the urban plan that we've now got is it's choices for your lifestyle. 1-bedroom apartments, 5-bedroom standalone houses, whatever it is in your life, wherever you are, you need to have choices. And for the more intensive living around railway stations, bus stations, road network hubs, town centres, you know, that's where people are quite frankly voting with their feet right now. There's a 118 apartment, 12-storey apartment being built in New Lynn that got sold out right before they built it. And they got it sold out because it's right in there beside the rail station. And people want to live there and go to different parts of the town. So, you know, all of the logic, my belief is the logic for this plan basically meets with the contemporary trends of people looking for housing choices and options, and also affordable houses. So for a lot of people, a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment is a lot more affordable than a 2 or 3 bedroom standalone house. So this is a choice or an option for them around affordable houses.
So in addition to this rates levelling, you say, which takes the total amount of income from rates, takes some people down, takes some people up. So there'll be no overall increase in money.
No, the overall increase goes back to that, as I say, we're increasing our budget by sort of 2 to 3% per annum, primarily to deal with the growth of the city and with our challenges of dealing with the underinvestment in the city over the years and how we go forward.
Okay, so the rail thing is going to be
within that.
Going to be extra.
No, it'll be within that. But the other thing about the rail thing, and what we'll be having a debate about this year, and so you know, you and I will be having further discussions, no doubt, is for us to do things like the rail, city rail link, we need to be contemplating whether or not we can do a congestion or network charge in Auckland, or whether or not we pay tolls on our roads to actually achieve that. And you know, so all of those issues will be debated through this year too. You know, I won't have rate increases above 2% average. You know, it's, you know, the Aucklanders have been quite clear about that. But the only other way that we can fund it is if we do it by direct charging. Now, I've never been in favour of this, but man, I've had a chance to sit back and say, look, I know if we don't do this stuff now, we're just postponing it to future generations. Oh, I just can't bear doing that either. So I'm saying, okay, well, let's look at a direct charge regime. In Singapore, they do a network charge. In London, they do a congestion charge. Hell, bloody Red Ken Livingstone put it in London. You know, and so he recognised that you've got to bite the bullet, that there's a problem here. And it's just not going to be sorted by rates or taxes. So, we're going to have a good debate this year about that.
Cheers. Hey, thanks for talking to me.
Yeah, you bet. All the best, eh?
Yeah.